Hello. All right. Um, so once again, welcome back to my channel. So tonight I'm going to quickly give you a review of the market, what has transpired so far, and what we are looking forward for to see happening on the market in the coming weeks or in this new week that we have begun. All right. So for those of you who are on my private channels, that's on my Telegram channel as well as my WhatsApp group, you know that we have begun the beginners class, and for those who are on the page are being updated, and I believe that for those who are totally new to the market are learning a few beginner steps. Okay, so if you're also new to the market and you want to join, it's not too late. You can join. You can get the link to the page in the description box, as well as those who are old to this channel. If you have anyone you want to refer to begin the learning process, you can share the link with them for them to join. All right. And then I thank you also for always watching my videos. And then I always encourage that when you watch the video, just give me a like for me to be encouraged to do more. Okay. All right. So let's go quickly into today's video. It's just a quick update on what we are expecting to happen in the weeks ahead. And then I'll go back and give you a breakdown of, okay, so I'll begin from what I predicted, or if you watch my previous videos, you would be able to tell that I actually gave a prediction of what we are going to expect on the market. So this is volatility 75, and for those of you who watched my previous videos, as I stated, the volatility 75, we were expecting lower prices, and lo and behold, we have price surging down. Okay, so now on the weekly time frame, this is what we see on the chart. Okay, as I always do, I always draw your attention to the fact that there was a fair value gap resting in here that price actually swept. Okay, so when price traded down to this point, there was this imbalance that there was an imbalance that price had to rebalance, and then we began trading down. Okay, so now what exactly are we seeking for? We are seeking for sell side liquidities. All right, and as I told you, there was this other block price. We traded severally into this other block, and then we were looking for lower prices. So beautifully, let's go down to our daily time frame and see. So on the weekly, what can we see on the weekly? So currently, the last time I told you that should price break below this low, should price break below this current low here, we will be looking for more lower prices, even way below this price level. Should price break below this low, we will rather seek for more, price would seek for more sell side liquidities below. Okay, so that is what we are expecting to happen on the market. All right, now let's go down to our daily time frame. So for our daily time frame, what happened was that, as I told you previously, that there was a short-term low here, and then there was another short-term low. Sorry, there was a short-term high in here and a short-term low. How did that happen? So on the market, we had this movement as the first leg. Okay, so this was the first swing, and then we have another swing all the way back in here, which came in to rebalance the fair value gap that we had in here, the imbalance here. So we had an imbalance in this area, and price came to balance in. So now the question that people ask is, why didn't it fully close in on the imbalance? So you don't expect price to always fully close in on the imbalances. That is why we have what we call consequent encroachment. So usually consequent encroachment, you would have it on the 50%. So for instance, if this is the full fair value gap, the 50% of the fair value gap is this area. So sometimes the consequent encroachment means that the fair value gap will be closed almost to this point, and you don't expect price to close in fully. Okay, it does that and then it reprices. That is how the algorithm works sometimes. All right, and then so we had this swing high from this point to this low. Okay, from this point to this low, and then what did price do? Price traded back into this area and then closed in on the fair value gap or the imbalance as it rebalanced all these areas and then traded back. So watch this beautifully. When price traded from this point, usually, so when you have a swing from a high to a low, and then you have another swing which forms a lower high, and then you have another swing to form a lower low, to show you that you are in a downtrend, right? Now beautifully, before the swing we had the lower low, we had this interim low in here and then this high in here, which was a liquidity pool, okay, that price had to quickly grab. So it was a short term, so price created a short term low. It didn't break below this swing, it was a short term low, and then it traded up in here and then it formed another short term high. So beautifully price repriced and then took down this short term low, and then it broke below this level. So when you watch this, the low of this price here is 333 or 336613. Okay, and then when you look at the low of this one is 35. Okay, so this is much lower than this, so it means that we took down this low in here. Okay, we took down the low in here, and now the question you ask yourself is, so as price has taken down the low, now it means that we are back into the normal trend, which is if we are in a downtrend, okay, or we are in a selling profile, a high, a low, a lower high, a lower low. Okay, now so this short-term low in here has liquidity resting above it. So beautifully, what price will do is that should price retrace into an area of interest, it will definitely sweep the high resting in here, and it was obvious price swept the high resting above this buy side liquidity, and then it took price down to currently where it is now. Let me go a little bit detail into what price actually did on some of the days. Okay, so now you could see that as price took down this high in here, price rallied. There was a fair value gap resting in here, price rallied, closed in on the imbalance, and then it took down this high. When price took down this high resting in here, the next thing it was supposed to do was, or the next thing it did was the rally back into this area. Now watch this. When price was trying to rally back down, obviously all our attention will be geared towards, okay, so we are going to sweep this equal lows resting in here. But in as much as we're looking, price was looking at sweeping the lows resting in here, we equally had some fair value gap open here, which makes this particular candle an order block, not because of the fair value gap, but watch this. It went to take down the sales, the buy side liquidity resting in here. Okay, so this particular candle became our order block, left some fair value gap just here, and then it traded down. Okay, so it traded down, and then watch this. The volume, the body of the candles closed below this, not necessarily closed below the low, and it made me aware that this is and then the other block. Okay, so price, you could notice that price retraced back into the other block, closed in on the fair value gap just before this bearish order block. And then what do we see? A breakdown. The next day we had an inside candle, another candle formed. It traded into the other block, and then we had another bullish day, also traded into that same other block, and they couldn't take all the highs resting on the previous day's candle, and beautifully we broke down. So you could see that the bodies of the candle were just resting just on the wake of that bearish order block, which gave you that signal that we're looking for lower prices, a rejection away from the order block and from the fair value gap. Okay, now within this day, okay, this previous day and then this subsequent day, now when you go back, you will notice that price was doing some stop hands in here. Let me go to my 4-hour time frame. So on the 4-hour time frame, this is the previous day. Okay, so now watch this. Price traded up all the way and then came down. Now price was around this point and then it rallied up all the way around this area. Now normally, what would you think? That okay, so price had already taken sell side liquidity resting above this side, purged it here, the buy side liquidity, okay, and then it rallied down with it. Now, not necessarily what will you think? That price should just go down straight. But watch this swing, okay, from this point to this point. Let me quickly show you what happened. So you will notice that from this high, from this high, sorry, fell into, okay, so from this high to this low, where is the mean? This is the mean threshold of it. Okay, so you will notice that price traded into the mean threshold of that particular swing. Okay, so price retraced all the way into the mean threshold of it, and then the breakdown. Okay, so beautifully you could see that although there wasn't any form of when price traded and then rebalanced this small fair value gap resting here, the imbalance, you were thinking that price should reverse from here, but it still went further up this way, and then it was just trading into the mean threshold of it, and then the swing, and then it had to rebalance afterwards. Okay, so oftentimes when we have swings and then a price, you don't know what price necessarily is doing, it's just moving towards a certain direction with momentum. If you are convinced and you are certain of your bias, if you are convinced and you are certain of your bias, what you usually have to do is that you just stick with the fact that price is either retracing to I was even looking at price coming all the way into this fair value gap resting in here, but it didn't do that. Let's look at it on the 1 hour time frame. On the 1 hour time frame, so we had this swing. Okay, so you could see that price was trading upwards and then it broke down. And so I was saying that this where's my network keeps going on and off. Okay, so I was just trying to explain this scenario to you that, sorry. So when price broke down from this point, okay, okay. So what I was saying is that you could see this breakaway gap, okay. When price traded, it couldn't retrace back into, so it just closing on this fair value gap and then it broke away from. So this is a breakaway gap that price wasn't really meant to close in on, and then the price rallied off. So notice this. So you have this form of mitigation in here, that it mitigated price, besides the fact that it traded into this closing on this fair value gap. So this acted as a mitigation, and then price rallied down all the way into this area until we had this stop hand. Okay, now watch this. So this one traded just slightly above this high. Okay, this equal heights resting in here. It traded above this equal highs. Okay, it traded above this equal highs, but not this main high. Okay, so beautifully, and it was almost into the 50% of the mean threshold of this what's the name of this swing, okay, which is the 50% of this swing, and then price did what it had to do, and you could see that it traded down, closed in on the imbalanced here, and then it began sweeping highs and lows. So it swept the buy side liquidity resting above here, and then it traded down, didn't find any liquidity, came back up and swept the buy side liquidity resting above in here again, went up, came to close in on the fair value gap resting in here, and then it began to consolidate, and then ultimately traded into this fair value gap, and then it broke down to where it is currently. Okay, now what is my expectation? So beautifully, as price has taken all this sell side liquidities resting in here, I'm expecting that, well, if price opens the next day, we may expect more lower prices to go down further to take more external liquidities. However, I'm looking at this imbalance being closed in before whatever price action happens. Now watch this. I'm looking at this imbalance resting in here, and this particular um, setup here as an order block. Okay, so should price retrace back into this area, it closes in on this area, and then we want to look for more lower prices. Should price break this level or breach this block here, we are looking at price coming in to this breakout gap, and I'm not looking at price going above this high, which is to say that it is going to breach this particular high. Okay, so now I'm not expecting price to close. It can close above this high, take the liquidity, buy side liquidity resting in here, but not to breach this high. So this is this is more of the long term high. It already took liquidity, so there is not much others resting in here for it to. So should price retrace, we want to see it closing in on the fair value gap resting inside this area, and then we want to see more further lower prices until we take down. Now I have my eye set on this low. I have my eye set on this low, as well as this low resting in here. Okay, so I have my eye set on these two lows that, I mean, should price should take liquidity from this particular lows. Okay, but however it's going to get there, we are looking at price as start taking liquidity resting in here, looking at price closing on under imbalances before we get to wherever we are going to. So that is it for volatility 75. Okay, now let's quickly jump to volatility 100. Yeah, so we are on volatility 100, and what has been transpiring on volatility 100? So within the week we had this long-term low taken. Okay, this was a low which was formed in 2021 January, and it was swept, or the sell side liquidity resting below this low was taken, and so you can see that currently that price dipped into the sell side liquidity, and then it rallied back up. It was a beautiful move. So what are we expecting on the weekly? Currently, as price has dipped into the sell side liquidity, it is possible price can still go in again and dip further, okay, before we see the ultimate move up, or it can just do this turtle soup and then continue to seek for more liquidities on the upside. However, there are a lot of imbalances on the upside that price can necessarily rally to seek. But let's look at our daily time frame so that we have a good premise. So now that price took sell side liquidity resting in here, it rallied and then it came to close in on this imbalance. Okay, it came up quickly, closed in on this imbalance here, closed in on this other imbalance here, and traded into this area, which acted as an order block, and then it repelled price down. Now I'm looking at price closing in on this other imbalance in here, and then I don't know, but I'm expecting price to still dip into this area. Now let's look at price on the 4-hour time frame and see our way forward. So you could see that as price dipped into this fair value gap resting in here, it traded up, came to form a low, and then to this point, and then we can see all this form of consolidation. So on the 1-hour time frame, which gives you a more clearer picture, so price trade to this high, low, high, and then it breaks it, and then you could see what price is doing here. Okay, so you could see that this structure was shifted down, but I don't want to really use this particular form of setup as my structure shift. Okay, so I want to kindly wait from I want to wait till Tuesday, and then I'll know exactly what to expect. Currently, what you can basically expect is price has taken down this high in here, and then it came down to also take in the low in here, and it went up. It's just trading around this area. There are some imbalances here that price will definitely come in to sweep on these imbalances. So expect lower prices. Price comes in to sweep these imbalances. Then probably we'll look for the next move. But until Tuesday, I'm staying away from this market. Now let's jump to volatility 25. Okay, so we're on volatility 25, and what is happening on volatility 25 is that, yes, the last time, as I told you, price traded into the mean threshold of this imbalance, and then what happened? It reversed and closed in on this imbalance. It traded up to fully trade this area, and then what happened? We had price breaking down this following this past week. It traded up, took down the buy side liquidity resting above this high, and then it broke down to close in fully on the imbalance in here. So now let's go to our daily time frame and see what happened. So this was what happened when price actually took down all the buy side liquidity resting in here in this bullish candle. You know, you would obviously or you will obviously know that in as much as the buy side liquidity here has been a sell side liquidity here has been raided and closed in as a bullish candle in here, it was very obvious this price was going to close above. There was a range, and price closed above, outside of the range, this day's range, and we are expecting more higher price. So price traded above this area. If you were a day trader, you would have quickly caught this beautiful trade, and then it furthermore went ahead to take the liquidity resting above this high, and as it traded into this particular order block here, and we had that rejection. So you know that the wicks are always doing the damage. So look at where the wick always almost went into, and then it had to break down further to close in fully on the fair value gap. There are more imbalances resting on the daily, resting below that price we can necessarily seek to take. Price can quickly rebalance itself and rebalance this side, and then maybe continue seeking for more lower prices. So you can necessarily say that there can be a breaker. One of these blocks here can be considered as a breaker. This might be the let me look at which one is the lowest. So if we are considering this, the low price is 2066, and then this is 2068. So probably this is the lowest. So this can be the breaker. So price trades into this breaker, we can still have rejection and then come back to close in on these areas. Okay. All right, guys. So that's all that I have for you tonight. And I was looking at doing volatility 50, but maybe I'll postpone that to Tuesday when we are fully set on the market and we are having to get more signals. All right. So I wish you all the best in your trading. Enjoy the rest of your week. If you are new to this channel, please do subscribe. All right. All the best.